Hey, how's it going everyone? This is Wiley here. In today's video, I want to be talking about the new Fuji X-H1 and why I vlog with it as compared to my X-T20. If you've been following this channel, you know that I almost film exclusively with these two Fuji cameras. The only time I don't is when I have both of them right here, in which case I have to record with my GH5. But I really love using these cameras because they just give great color, they have great functionality, and I can really put out very quick videos onto this channel. If you've been following this channel, you'll know that the X-T20 is my favorite for daily vlogging. So when I'm out and about and when I just want to carry a camera around with me, which I do want to have a camera with me all the time, I almost exclusively have this camera with me. The reason for that is that it's super light with its light polymer tripod. It's a very small body. The lenses in the Fuji lineup are excellent, and of course there's an audio in jack, so you can just plug in your favorite mic and you really get good audio. Now with the X-T20, you only have a 2.5mm jack, so you're going to need an adapter in order to use it. That's really a big downside. Both these cameras don't have flip out screens, so you can't frame yourself, but I've never found that to be an issue. It's one of those things where once you get used to framing yourself, looking into the lens, you can almost do it without the flip out screen. I've never had an issue with that. Now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the X-H1 and why I love the X-H1. Specifically, when I record with the X-H1, which is during like any planned sessions, so all of my hiking vlogs, anything where I'm visiting a specific place, I actually film with the X-H1. And there's really good reasons for it. Let's go ahead and just break it down. The first part, with a lot of vlogging cameras, you really want a good autofocus system. And what I have found is that the face detection on this has been really good for me. I almost exclusively use auto with face detect on when I'm vlogging myself and my face. And if you watch any of my vlogging videos, there's not really too many times that's out of focus. It's always been very good, and I've been very happy with it. Usually I have the 18-55, which is right now on this lens. Right now I'm actually testing out the prime 16mm 1.4. You're going to see that in an upcoming video. But with the kit lens or something like the prime lens, I'm getting really good results with vlogging videos. And I can also take really great pictures, which is really awesome. But let's go over like the primary features that I use that I really love with the X-H1 and why I would choose that over the X-T20 for any type of planned videos. First and foremost is I really love the slow motion on this. It does 120 frames at 1080p, which means I get really great slow motion. If you've been watching a lot of my hiking videos, or just my, just general event videos, what you'll notice that I do is that I like to use slow motion as a way to move through time. So for example, when we're hiking, when we're going in between spots, I'll use the slow motion, or I'll record slow motion to kind of move us between locations. And I really love doing that. And right now, the 120 frames is only available on the X-H1. It isn't available on the X-T20. After that, what I've also found is that the internal audio on this is super great. Like I said, if you watch any of my hiking videos, there is no external recorder put onto the X-H1. I actually only use the internal mics. I have to record them at a very low level, but I can boost those during post. And without having to put the audio on my camera when I'm vlogging, it makes it a much lower profile. It makes it less conspicuous, which is what I really love. So that's something that if you're not comfortable vlogging, other people looking at you vlog, this is a great camera because the built-in mics have been really good. One of the things that I think Fuji excels at, it's one of the things that makes the community so passionate about these cameras, is that there is definitely a Fuji color. Just like there's a Nikon look, just like there's a Canon look, there's definitely a Fuji look, and it looks really great. It's one of those things that when I was looking for a vlogging camera, I was looking not just at all of the specs of the camera. Ultimately, what I was really looking for is, did I like the picture coming out of the camera, and how much do I have to tweak in order to actually make it look unique to what I want to represent on YouTube. And what I found out, and the reason why I went into the Fuji systems, is that I found that right out of camera, these pictures look great. The first Fuji camera I actually owned was an X-T1, and my first few videos was actually with an X-T1. And what I found out was that I really loved it. It was great. So what I did was I went ahead, moved up to the X-T20 as my primary vlogging camera, and I love it still. When they announced the X-H1, the feature sets that they were giving me, in which they were video centric, the in-body stabilization, the better focusing systems, the dual card slots, they just all appealed to me, and I was like, this is the camera that I want to work with. I didn't know whether or not I was going to replace my X-T20 with it. Ultimately, it didn't, but I still use this like almost every week. One of the big features that I really love, and I think a lot of people will attest to this, is the ability to have dual card slots and then being able to just overflow from one to the other. I find that I, during a day of shooting, can probably fill up one SD card, and I'll probably be a fourth of the way through the second SD card. These are 32 big SD cards, by the way, and these are the Sony versions, and they've been working really well with me. So I go home with somewhere between 40 gigabytes of data, and that's between video and also stills. So very quickly, I just want to talk about the ergonomics of the X-H1. One of the things that you'll know, it resembles quite a bit like a DSLR. It's a slightly smaller version of the DSLR, which in many respects is a really good thing, because you get this nice deep grip, which fits your hand perfectly. There's this nice little notch right here, which your thumb can rest upon. It's very comfortable. It's one of the cameras that I have used so far where I really enjoy carrying it one-handed, and I always feel like I'm in control. Another feature that I really love is the manual, continuous, and single focus switch up here. And what this allows me to do is that when I'm actually filming, I can easily go from manual mode to continuous mode. And also when I'm vlogging myself, sometimes I will put it on manual mode just to ensure that I'm always in focus. It's something that's very easy to do with this camera. And then if I were to flip it around and I want to shoot something on the other direction, I can very quickly switch it over to continuous mode, and then it will start autofocusing. So super useful feature. There's also a light here. This light is usually reserved for taking pictures, to where if it's too dark, it'll flash, trying to give the system enough light to be able to allow it to autofocus. But in this case, it can also work as a tally light. So if you hit the button, this light can come on. It can either be a solid light or a blinking light, but it's very useful when you're recording yourself, so that if you know this light's on or if it's blinking, you're recording yourself. Of course, the default is that it's always off, but I really do prefer having it on all the time. The picture inside the eyepiece is just excellent. It's huge, it's large. It's also pushed outward a little bit, so that if you put your eye to it, you don't accidentally touch the screen, moving your autofocus or your focus box. Super useful there. A couple of downsides that I really want to talk about. Chief amongst which, and a lot of people will tell you this, is that the battery life on this is not great. When I'm out and about recording video, I usually can go through 2 batteries, sometimes 3. So given a 5-hour recording day between taking pictures and video, I can probably go through about 2.5 batteries. There is ways to conserve the battery life in order to make it those 5-6 hours, and I can make a separate video afterwards, but much of it revolves around not having the LED screen on all the time. A lot of people will tell you is that there is no flip out screen. So if you're the type of person where you absolutely need to have a screen that flips out, this isn't going to work for you. I can work around this. I usually don't have a problem with this, honestly, because when I'm vlogging myself, I'm used to knowing where I need to position the lens and where I need to look into the lens. So it's never been a problem with me. But if it is a problem with you, there's only a few select cameras out there that can help solve that problem for you. So you're kind of limited in the number of cameras that you would choose if that is super important to you. The next thing to this is that obviously, as compared to the X-T20, this is a much heavier body, and sometimes the lenses you use will be heavier. So what I've found is that I can't use my favorite polymer tripod, the Ultrapod, with this. I actually have to go to a much sturdier aluminum tripod, which means it's going to add even more weight. So what I find in this particular case is that the overall setup is much heavier, and if you're recording a clip like that's over a minute long, your arm does begin to feel it. So as with this one, I can probably record, almost 5 minutes, and really it doesn't feel like anything because it's so light, even with a mic on. It's a minor gripe, but one of the things that I really don't like about this is that this knob down here controls when you go to video and when you go to actually shoot photo. And what happens is that I am a hybrid shooter when I'm out vlogging. So what happens is I like shooting between movie mode, and then I like to go to single select. And when I'm doing that back and forth, what happens is that I really have to shift a lot of slots back and forth every time. I really wish there was a custom button selections down here so that I can just switch in between them. It would save me so much time. I mean, this is going to be the first wheel that I'm definitely going to wear out. Since I've gotten it, I've already noticed that this wheel has become much smoother because of the hundreds of times that I've already moved this back and forth. We've already covered that the autofocus is great, so I just turn on autofocus and it works fine. Sometimes if I'm using autofocus and I'm pointing it at a subject, it does get a little confused with face detect on. Sometimes it thinks it detects a face even though there isn't a face there. So that's a little bit annoying, but I mean, you can work through those, or you can turn off face detect. So let me go ahead and sum up the X-H1 in terms of a vlogging camera. I really enjoy using this actually. If I didn't have the X-T20 and I only had money to buy one camera, I would always opt for the X-H1. I love the slow motion in this. I love the autofocus in this. It works really well. The functionality is great. The dual card slot is awesome. The minor gripes that I have is if you're hybrid shooting, it's a little hard to get to. It's a little hard to get in between single and movie mode because you have to go through a bunch of different other options. But that's a minor gripe. I really do like the switch up here in which I can easily move between manual mode and single focus or continuous focus. It allows me to be very selective on when I want to use manual focus, which occasionally I do. So in terms of functionality, it's all there. The internal mics are excellent. At least I find them to be very acceptable so that I don't have to use an external mic. I think for somebody who's looking into wanting to produce YouTube videos very quickly, you will like this camera, in my opinion. I personally love the colors that come out of the Fuji systems. That's the reason why I chose the Fuji systems. And with these colors, it saves me a significant amount of time working in between the Fuji camera systems. That's what I really love. I can deal with having to do with a little tweaking of audio, which I would do across any camera. So like, it's not saving me any time here. I just really love the workflow of the Fuji cameras. It's very easy. It allows me to keep up with the 4 videos a week that I'm really trying to keep up with, and these cameras have allowed me to do that. So I've been really happy with them, and hopefully, you'll check them out. I think you would really like the Fuji cameras if you give them a shot. They've been very capable cameras.